nine, eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Latina Diaspora. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, what we do here, we talk about issues, things that pertain to Latinos living in the United States. Of course, I have my main YouTube channel, which is called Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron, where I discuss everyday issues and we try to find logical solutions. But no one uses logic, so that's the reason why it's called Uncommon Sense. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, the subscriber mode has been enabled for the first 5 minutes, meaning that if you're not a subscriber and you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you'll need to subscribe to the channel. Um, truthfulness, I'm not going to stay long. I do have a busy schedule today, but I did wanted to go live and do a brief stream um, because first of all, I'm not going to be doing any lives on this channel next week. I'll probably upload maybe one or two shorts because I do have a very busy schedule. Monday evening, I have physical therapy. Uh, Wednesday night, I'll be out for the evening. And of course, being the next week is Holy Week, uh, Thursday, I'll be attending services. And Friday, I will do a short live with my Good Friday message. Okay. But in any case, I really want to give a huge shout out to all those who have already subscribed to the channel, whether you've been there from the very beginning or just recently joined. I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, particularly when it comes to Instagram and TikTok. Your continued support really touches my heart. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notification to all. So, therefore, whenever I do produce content, whether it be here or whether it be with Uncommon Sense, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So, as you can see by the title on the thumbnail, the topic is the Great Week. So basically, I'm going to be talking a little bit regarding Holy Week and how we observe it. Okay. Now, before we get into the main topic, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. So, as I stated earlier, just now, um, next week I will not be doing a live on this channel. I'll probably do like one of those shorts because I do have a very busy schedule, and it's not like I'm just trying to create content for channel. I'm doing for two, and sometimes our lives can be very busy that we don't have time to devote to social media. But I will be back with contact in 2 weeks. Probably be in the middle of the week. So with that being said, I want to talk a little bit regarding the tragedy that happened earlier this week in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic. I did allude to it on last night's streaming on my main channel. I will be doing a live tomorrow night regarding the tragedy. So just to give you a brief recap, there is this nightclub called the Jet Set, which is one of the more classier um, establishments in Santo Domingo, where many of the middle and upper class and politicians and sports athletes go and visit for an evening of entertainment and dancing and listening to music. And it was reported there was close to about 1,000 people at the site, which included the patrons and the staff. Well, unfortunately, during a live performance, the roof caved in, and as a result, the death row is currently over 220 people. And as we speak, they're still searching for bodies underneath the debris. There have been people that were injured, and unfortunately, some of those people that did with the transport to the hospital have passed away due to dying because of the injuries they sustained. Now, of course, they are doing an investigation regarding what happened, and just to give you, just, it was reported. Now, we have to state this is we don't know for sure, so all this is speculative. But what is alleged that there was a fire at Jet Set earlier, and it had weakened the roof. And the architect had instructed the owner to just basically tear it down and reconstruct a new roof. It is alleged that the owner refused, and basically what they did, they just did like a patch-up job, and then on top of that, they put some heavy equipment on top, and then created a second floor. So with the weight of all that, the roof collapsed. So I'm sure there's going to be litigation involved regarding this situation. And I just want to state that my heart, my thoughts, and my prayers go out to the Dominican community and to the family and loved ones of all those who lost loved ones. It is a tragedy over there. Uh, what's even just as much as too much of a tragedy that there have been people. Now I'm going to say this allegedly calling themselves Christians, rejoicing at the fact that over 220 people perished because they were drinking, they were carousing, they were doing whatever, instead of attending church and attending services. Okay. Now, this is the problem. The problem I have is this: where is your compassion? Where is your sympathy? Where's your empathy? Okay. How could you say that to people who have lost parents, spouses, children, siblings, uncles, aunts, cousins, okay, significant others? How could you be so cruel and actually say it's a good thing that they perished? Where is God's love in you? Where is God's mercy in you? It's really sad, and it just speaks about the fact that there's something wrong with your moral compass if you're able to rejoice in someone's passing, in someone's death. Okay, that over 220 people were deleted. I am bewildered by what has happened, and it does not bode well. Okay. Um, and the fact of the matter is, there have been people from Mexico, from Puerto Rico, even as far away from Israel, that actually gone to the Dominican Republic and helped with the recovery phase. And first of all, a huge shout out to all those, okay, that that travel far uh, to help the community of Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, in this time of need. Okay, and not only that, just think of the trauma that these people are enduring right now. I just find it really bizarre that people could be that cruel, but it is unfortunate. Okay, and now, of course, I'm going to talk about this in further detail tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. So, so with that being said, we're going to get into the main topic. Now, before I continue, let me just state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. But realistically speaking, it's Saturday afternoon, so I doubt anyone is going to be watching this stream live. If anything, they'll probably watch it on the playback. But in any case, if anyone wishes to hit that link and opine regarding the topic in hand, they may do so. As always, I need to state this, okay? If I've never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one flushes anything inappropriate, which will cause the people of YouTube to take down the stream. Now, in the Latino community, um, Holy Week has a special significance because we're entering into um, one of the most important weeks in the Christian's counting. In Spanish, we call it La Semana Mayor, the Great Week, okay? Because it all talks about the series of events that happen during this week, okay? Just to give you a highlight, tomorrow is Palm Sunday, where we remember Jesus entering into Jerusalem victoriously. And then the crowd was all happy, rejoicing, and they're saying, they're praising Jesus, things of that nature. He's riding with a white donkey, and they say, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna. But just to give you an idea how fickle people can be, many of the same people that was crying Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna on Jesus on Palm Sunday were the same people that on Good Friday were saying crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. Now wait, look, okay. Now people were wondering why. You know, we have, one thing we have to bear in mind, and this is for us as believers. This was the reason why Jesus came into the world, um, to die for our sins, to be rose again on Sunday, which it's commonly referred to as Easter. So you have on Palm Sunday, you have Jesus entering triumphantly into Jerusalem, and then you have like the Monday of Holy Week, the Tuesday of the Holy Week, the Wednesday of the Holy Week. They all talks about events leading up to what's called in the Catholic Church the Easter Triduum. These are three high holidays uh, before Easter comes. Okay, Thursday we have Holy Thursday, which we remember as the night that Jesus was betrayed and handed on to the authorities to eventually to be deleted. Also, it's the same night where he celebrated uh, which was the Passover, which was the first Eucharist. When we believe that when we go and receive the body and blood of Christ, we're receiving His body and blood. So He initiated the Eucharist, and of course, at that night, um, Peter denied knowing Jesus 3 times, and then on Good Friday is the day where Jesus was executed. On false and trumped up charges. Okay, and people are wondering how could that happen? Well, it happened, but there was a reason behind that. And then the Holy Saturday, that's when we wait in anticipation for His resurrection, and then those events end with Easter Sunday when we celebrate His resurrection, which I call Resurrection Day. Now, the reason why I gave you all that information is to give you some sort of content regarding why. And of course, when it comes to celebrating the Holy Week with the Latino culture, of course, we gather. Okay, we gather in large crowds. Okay, we gather to commemorate these events. And of course, a huge shout out to all those who are watching this live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. No, let's not do this. Okay. I'm still learning with StreamYard how to do these features, so to speak. So, and of course, I am not the most tech savvy person in the world. Okay, no, I don't want to text you. I'm sorry, no offense. So I came across this article. Okay, Catholic traditions of Holy Week and Easter in Latin America, and it's written by J.A. Garcia. Okay. There is no time like Easter in Latin America, otherwise known as Holy Week or La Semana Santa. Easter is one of those most important and widely celebrated Catholic traditions in Latin America. Every year during Easter, people dress up, they go quiet, they make noise, they eat certain things, they stop eating others. They organize parades, they play music, and they go to church. They do all this and more to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Keep reading to learn more about some of the most important Catholic traditions of Holy Week and Easter in Latin America. Good afternoon, Georgia. Thank you very much for stopping by. So today I'm just briefly talking about Holy Week and how we as Latinos uh, observe it. And of course, just I would say, virtually every church, every congregation will be celebrating similar events. Okay. Yes, I understand. It's morning. I mean, look, in all fairness, this stream was supposedly be on at 1 o'clock. It's just that I got things to do, so I decided to push it up half an hour. But so be it. Uh, During Holy Week, people celebrate, commemorate, and remember the final week of Jesus' life, also known as the Passion of Christ. Holy Week is the most sacred week in Christianity and lasts for 7 days, hence the name. Dates vary. The Sunday before Easter is called Palm Sunday and marks the beginning of Holy Week. Each day of Holy Week in Spanish is called Semana Santa and has a name and event in Jesus' final days it commemorates. So we're going to start with Palm Sunday, which is known as Domingo de Ramos. On Palm Sunday, people ended on the time Jesus triumphantly entered into Jerusalem. Okay. And then we have Holy Monday, which is Lunes Santo. According to the Gospel, Jesus did three crucial things on Holy Monday. First, he cursed the fig tree, which represents Israel and the people who didn't accept Jesus as the Messiah. He kicked merchants and other customers from Jerusalem's temple, accusing them of turning into a den of thieves, and he responded to the question about his authority. Now we have Holy Tuesday, which is called Martes Santo. On this day, Jesus told his disciples that Judas Iscariot would betray him, which he did for 30 pieces of silver. Holy Wednesday, Miércoles Santo. On Holy Wednesday, Judas Iscariot betrays Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, and a religious tribunal condemns Jesus. So now we have what's called Maundy Thursday, Jueves Santo. The famous Last Supper occurs on Maundy Thursday. The Paschal Triduum or Triduum Pasquale begins on this day. Now, that's Latin for those of you who do not know what it means, but it's referring to the three sacred feast days before Easter: Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday. And of course, it shares with us the Last Supper and the fact that Jesus was handed over to the authorities. And then we have Good Friday, which is known as Viernes Santo. On Good Friday, Jesus gets captured, he's punished, and is given a crown of thorns, crucified, died, and he's buried. Okay. Now, this is the most solemn day on the Christian calendar. Okay. For those of us who practice Catholicism, Mass is not observed. So, what happens during that day is that they have the liturgy of the word, adoration of the cross, and communion being given. Okay. Now, and then Saturday, which is Holy Saturday, or Sábado Santo. On Holy Saturday, people celebrate the Easter Vigil where they wait for the resurrection of Christ. Okay. Okay, no problem. And then we have Easter, or as I prefer to call it, Resurrection Day. Easter or Resurrection Day. Domingo de Pascua or Domingo de Resurrección. On Easter, people celebrate the resurrection of Jesus 3 days after he died on the cross. Yes, 3 days. Scripture says 3 days. In that culture, throughout the Bible, day begins with sunset, not sunrise. Also, 3 days doesn't mean 72 hours. It means 3 different days marked by sunsets. Okay, so of course, with when it comes to Jewish holidays, it does not. It begins the sundown prior, the day prior. Now, there's also Catholic tradition, Easter traditions. As with any holiday, Easter Holy Week or La Semana Santa has a bunch of traditions, processions, reenactors of the Passion of Christ, food, or the prohibition of certain foods, silence, solemnity, etc. Let's take a look at how Easter is celebrated and most often. A common denomination of Holy Week is the processions. They do it in Colombia and Argentina, and they also do it across Latin America. They do it in Spain, in Italy, Vatican City, Poland, all over Europe. Undoubtedly, you have seen a group of people wearing ceremonial outfits, tunics, coats, hats, robes, canes, carrying a figure of a saint. They carry the saint of a church, take it across the determined route, and take it back inside the church. Musicians and marching bands escort the saint, playing traditional music. In Latin America, the processions carriers walk on top colorful carpets made of sawdust. In Jerusalem, people reenact Jesus' entry into the city, and the saints carry often depict scenes of the Passion of Christ. People who doesn't participate in the ceremony can watch it from a distance. And of course, they have performances. Catholic communities across the world often put on performances during Holy Week, most often to reenact the Passion of Christ or the Station of the Cross, also called the Via Crucis, which is Latin, which refers to the series of events that occurred the day that Jesus was crucified. Now, the Via Crucis consists of 14 scenes that occur. The first one, Jesus is condemned to death. The second one, Jesus takes up his cross. The third one, Jesus falls for the first time. The fourth one, Jesus meets Mary, his mother. The fifth one, Simon the Cyrene helps Jesus carry his cross. The next one is Saint Veronica cleans Jesus' face. The following one, Jesus falls for a second time. The next one, Jesus consoles the women of Jerusalem. The next one, Jesus falls for the third time. And Jesus is stripped of his clothing. He is nailed to the cross. He dies on the cross. He's taken from the cross and is laid in the tomb. Okay. In Catholic schools, Catholic universities, Catholic theater groups, churches, and other collectives perform these two moments of Jesus' life and death. Each adaptation is different. Most commonly, an actor who portrays Jesus carries the cross. Others take things a little bit further. In Mexico City, the actor who portrays Jesus also wears a real crown of thorns. In the Philippines, hooded paladins flagellate themselves by using bamboo sticks. Also, the Philippine Jesus is literally nailed to the cross. Finally, in Kenya, people who play Roman soldiers whip and act playing Jesus. I don't need all that realism. And let me just. Okay. And wait a second, see if anyone. Okay. Now, there are certain restrictions regarding food. Okay. Have you ever wondered why Catholics don't eat red meat on Good Friday? According to Christianity, Jesus died for our sins on Good Friday, meaning that he sacrificed his flesh. So in honor of Jesus' sacrifice, the Catholic Church encouraged people and kids over 14 not to eat meat on the anniversary of Christ's death. Similarly, Catholics don't eat lamb, chicken, beef, pork, ham, deer, duck, etc. Fish and other seafood are acceptable, though as well as milk. There is no limits or special instructions for beverages, though Holy Week is not even alcoholic drinks. Also, on Good Friday, Catholics are encouraged to fast, and some Catholics are choose to give up their favorite food or habit for that day. Now, as we see, Holy Week traditions vary from country to country. Though most do processions, for example, so it's interesting to learn some of the specific ways people celebrate the Holy Week across the world. In Mexico and Brazil, they burn figures of Judas. Also in Brazil, believe dressed as angels. In Peru, they additionally reenact the Last Supper. In Poland, families make an Easter basket filled with traditional foods on Holy Saturday, and then they take the basket to Mass, and the priest blesses it. The basket remains untouched until Resurrection Sunday. Also in Poland, they throw water at each other. In Bermuda, people fly kites. In France, they make a giant omelet. In Florence, Italy, the oxen throw a cart across the city. In Hungary, men throw women water at women. That's weird. Maybe now you'll learn more about Holy Week. You want to travel to South America, Spain, and the Philippines. You're going to need some Spanish then. Did you know that there are 21 countries that speak Spanish, or that close to 600 million people around the world speak it? It's bilingual employees that get paid more money. Okay, so this is more or less. Okay, well, you know what? We're going to park it here. Okay. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea how we observe the Holy Week. Okay. Now let me just give you how I observe it. Okay. I look at it as a special time of self-reflection regarding God's love for me, God's love for us. And so this is as a recall what what into what had to be done in order for us to achieve salvation. Because remember, it's written in Romans that the wages of sin is death. Okay, and when I mean death, I'm not talking about physical death as dying, because that's going to happen to anyone. And what's that referring to is spiritual death, which we spent an eternity separated from God's presence. So it really, this week, for many believers, it really focuses regarding the sacrifices that have to be done in order for all of us as the believers to receive salvation. Which is why it's very important for us to be faithful to God, be faithful to the gospel, and to try to live the message of the gospel um, the best way possible. Okay, because the reality is this: there are people that, for whatever reason, will never walk into it, have not walked into the church. So when they encounter one of us, we're basically we're going to be the first version of the gospel that people will see. So it's very important that we try to be faithful to the gospel and to give what I call true witness. Unfortunately, what happened is there's some people who get turned off to Christianity due to the fact that there are people who are calling themselves Christians, but they're not living what they are confessing. And we have a word for that. It's called giving bad testimony. Okay. So, and we have to be mindful because the Bible does also say that we're going to be judged by every word or every thought or every action on Judgment Day. So we should really strive to do our best to be as obedient to God as possible. We should strive to be as uh, come close to Jesus' example as possible. Are we going to miss the mark? Definitely, we're going to miss the mark. Okay, yes, we're definitely going to miss the mark. But um, that's why the Bible talks about that God is faithful, that He's able to forgive us of all transgressions, which is sin, which is basically uh, any time that God gives us a directive and we do the complete opposite. Okay, and of course, next week is Holy Week. Now, to those of you who are watching who are not believers, let me just say I'm not trying to force you to accept Christianity. I'm just sharing what it is that we believe. Okay, and part of the celebrations and observances is ceremonial. Okay, and it has to do with our culture. Okay, but what I would ask that those of you who do not embrace Christianity to at least have an open mind. Okay, okay, and just look at it as information that perhaps you never knew before. Okay, and of course, another example that happens particularly on Holy Thursday. What happened during the service? They will select 12 people. Okay, So what they would do, they would take off their shoes, they would take off their socks. The priest would take off uh, his vestments, and what he would do is he would go one by one and watch the feet of the 12 people to illustrate this an example of service, which is recorded in the Bible, where Jesus during the Last Supper, to demonstrate service and what have you. What he did was he took a basin, he took water, he took a towel, and he washed the feet of the disciples. Now, one thing we have to bear in mind um, in that time, okay, they did not have paved streets. So basically, and people walk with sandals. So basically, when you're walking on a dirt road, your feet is going to collect dirt. So what they did was, whenever they enter into a person's home, what the uh, owner of the home would do, have them take off their shoes and have their feet washed. Okay, Jesus did this as an example of humility and service, how we are called to serve one another. Okay, okay, and of course, it was during that time when Jesus revealed that once you are bathed and all you need to have your feet cleansed, and all are clean with the exception of one. The one that he was referring to was, of course, Judas Iscariot, okay, because he knew for a fact that he would betray Jesus to the authorities. Okay, and we own, okay, and then for those of you who are not familiar, what happened? Um, Judas was overcome by sorrow. He returned the money to the to the temple priest, and unfortunately, um, Judas Iscariot was filled with such grief that he deleted himself. Okay. Now, as I alluded to, there is there is sorrow, sorrow, where to the extent the person does not see any hope and there's no escape. And sometimes when people feel with that type of sorrow, unfortunately, they chose to delete themselves. And then there is what's called godly sorrow, when someone is truly sour for their sins and repents and turns away. The difference between Judas Iscariot and Peter, that Judas Iscariot was filled with sorrow without hope. Peter was filled with sorrow, but it was a godly sorrow because he recognized that he sinned, that he uh, let Jesus down, and Jesus forgave him. Had Judas Iscariot have done the same, had a godly sorrow, he would have been forgiven. But that's reality. So with that being said, let me just give you my final thoughts before I shut down the stream, because I stated before I'm not going to be here long. But I just wanted to give you like a little taste how we in the Latino community um, observe Holy Week, otherwise known as La Semana Santa. Some people call it La Semana Mayor. Okay, so you're gonna, I mean, if you live near a Catholic church, you're gonna see this. So, now, tomorrow night, as I said earlier at the beginning of the stream, tomorrow night I'll be live at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. where I'm going to be talking about in more detail regarding the tragedy that happened in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic. I did speak about it briefly last night. I'm going to speak on it further. To be perfectly honest, I was a little bit hesitant, but now we do have some more uh, information regarding it. And one thing we do have to bear in mind that there's still an investigation being held. Um, so, with that being said, I do appreciate all of you. Um, and of course, the playback end, do your thing. Okay. And, you can enter whatever comments. Just try to keep it positive. And if you want to share it, as long as you don't use it to attack me or anybody else. Okay. Because if you do use it for that way, you will be reported. So, with that being said, being that tomorrow is the beginning of Palm Holy Week, I hope that you have a truly blessed Holy Week. I truly hope that you would look at this as a time of reflection as we contemplate the events, particularly those events that made salvation a reality for all of us. And again, I will not be airing any lives next week. I'll probably do a couple of shorts. So the next time will be in about 2 weeks. So with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Take care, stay blessed, and
Be strong.